Hi, I'm Anthony from Learning to Play the Guitar. Recently, one of my videos on how to play the G-C-D chords got a comment from someone saying that they were stunned I was teaching people how to play the G chord like this, using these particular fingers, and that it was basically the wrong way of playing the G chord. So have I been playing this G chord wrong all this time and showing people how to play it incorrectly? Here, I'm going to show you some other ways to play the G chord, and we'll have a look at the pros and cons of each and work out whether one is more wrong or right than the other. Just a reminder, if you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe, and you can check out more lessons and my books at my website, learningtoplaytheguitar.net. So first off, let's look at version 1, which is this one, the controversial way of playing the G chord. So basically, I teach how to play the G chord this way because it has a couple of pros to it. Especially starting out as a beginner, it's the easiest finger combination, with finger 1 up here, 2 up the top, number 3 down the bottom. So we only need 3 fingers to play it, and the 3 dominant fingers of the hand. We don't need to use a little finger, which we'll get into next, because it can be quite hard for people to get the little finger to pressurize, especially kids. If they've got little fingers, it's very hard to make that little finger work correctly. It does also give the advantage of getting to E minor fairly easily, where I didn't have to move my first finger, I just slid it over slightly there. So the cons of this G chord is that it can be a little bit difficult to get to see, because you've got to twist the whole hand around, and thus you can check out my other videos on practicing this move to make that nice and smooth. And also, people like Bob Dylan play this chord shape, as evidenced here in this picture, and other YouTube guitar teachers such as Justin Guitar and Marty Schwartz also teach you how to play G this way, so it can't be that wrong, can it? So the other common way of playing the G chord is this, where we have fingers 3 and 4 on the bottom 2 strings here on fret 3, giving us this more chimier sound compared to the other version of G, and this chord is most famously used at the start of Wonderwall by Oasis, and it's also used in other songs such as More Than Words by Extreme, with that sort of sound going along there. And it has some advantages, and it's probably the most commonly used version of G when you watch videos of the pros and big rock stars playing an open G chord. So the advantage of this chord is that it's also fairly easy to get to E minor, just like the first version, because again we're just doing a very similar move with our fingers 1 and 2 there. It is also fairly easy to get to D, because this third finger on the bottom stays in the same spot, backwards and forwards, so it helps. There's a few other chords coming out of this shape as well. There's obviously this G chord will take us to a C add 9 or C add 2, which is basically putting the pair down, so it's like a rock version of C, if you like, used in a few songs, Patience by Guns N' Roses, Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi, things like that. So that's a very handy little way of getting G and C to work without having to do the whole twist around. The cons of playing G this way for beginners is that it can be hard for this little finger to pressurize and ring out very clearly, and also some songs require the details for arpeggios, etc., where we want an open B string. And to make that work going this way, taking this finger off is quite hard and awkward. And so then you'd revert back to what I would call version 1 of the wrong way to make that work. So the list of famous players who play the open G chord this way include, of course, Noel Gallagher from Oasis, Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme, Brian May from Queen, Bono from U2, Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, Izzy and Slash from Guns N' Roses, Richie Sambora and John Bon Jovi from Bon Jovi, and the list goes on and on. I suppose you can also add Jimmy Page plays a G this way. You watch some videos of him playing G, it's like that. So going on to version 3 of this chord, there is a version where we take the first finger off, and we're going to lean over and mute the A string with the edge of this finger up the top here, and that gives us the AC/DC G chord, which is used in lots of AC/DC songs, Highway to Hell, Shook Me All Night Long, things like that. Anything where AC/DC play a G chord, it's usually going to be this version to give you that sort of nice clear rocking sound. So we're basically eliminating the muddiness of this extra note down here with the first finger, and in some ways it's actually easier because we're not having to worry about being really clear. Some beginners do lean and mute a bit down there, so you can sort of get away with that by just losing a string, and it does sound, you know, very rockin', like very easy to get from the D and the G, a lot of AC/DC, Highway to Hell, etc., doing that sort of stuff. So the pros of this chord include not having to worry about having a clear A string, so it is muting it, very easy. And so the cons of this chord, again, same as the previous version, are that you need a strong little finger down the bottom to make that work. And so for beginners that can be a bit hard to keep that pressure going on the bottom string. And so the final version is this version where we have fingers 2 and 3 on the top, and little finger will now hit the 3rd fret on the bottom string down there, giving it the same sound as the original version of G I talked about, which is possibly the wrong one, all the way back from the start. But this way, it is better, and the pros of this is that it's much easier to get to C, because these 2 fingers just jump up and down a string. We don't have to do the whole twist action from the previous version, which is cool. There's other cool little things that come out of this version. If you leave your little finger on the bottom, you get this chimey extra G note for your C chord, which is quite cool. As you go through, it's also good to go from a G to an F, doing that version of F, which is quite cool. As it goes along, there's also G to G7. It's the first finger down there on fret 1 now, so that's fairly easy. If you've got a song that goes from G to G7, that does make that much easier. The other cool thing is you can add a thing called G sus4, which is the G, and then the first finger is thrown in on the C note there. That sort of stuff, which is in a few songs. It's a nice little way of modifying your G chord. Another song that does variations of this is Take It Easy by the Eagles, where we're just basically modifying the shape, moving the fingers around in the intro, and the strumming would be... So these 2 outside fingers haven't moved, and that gives you the intro to Take It Easy by the Eagles. So the cons of this, again, is that that little finger has to be pressurized well to make that work versus sort of muting down the bottom. And also, as a beginner, it can be hard because your first finger is not really doing anything, so it feels very strange to not be utilizing your most dexterous, powerful finger that people have, which is the first finger. The other disadvantage is that it's a little bit more hard to get to the D chord from this G shape. The hand has to jump around a little bit more. It's not impossible, but it's a bit harder, I think, to go back and re-land that with your little finger on the bottom if you're going from a D to a G. Also, if you want to go from G, E minor and C in a combo in a song, which is quite common, you can make it work by going G to this version of E minor, fingers 2 and 3, but then when we want to go to C, you've got to do the jump. If we had the previous version 1 the wrong way, the stunningly wrong way, G and go to E minor to C, and the magic of that is we have a connecting finger. Finger 1 connects, finger 2 connects, so that's the advantage of the other version of G over this little finger on the bottom version. So here with these 4 versions of G, each has their own place in different songs and different levels of playing. So learn all 4 and you'll be stunned how you can't go wrong playing the G chord.